Hi, uh, welcome to the show. In this episode, we are going to talk about the process of story writing. This is a long process. So that means that this podcast may be a two-parter depending on time. Before we can write, we need our tools, visualization of the world that we wish to write down. When it comes down to writing, you are an explorer. The whole point is to unravel and document the world that you have imagined. You can either write as somebody who is merely observing that world or somebody who is a part of that world. So what that means is somebody who's observing is written like in a third person. As for somebody who's written in somebody who's writing as they're a part of the world is writing in first person. I choose to be observer because it is a lot more fun and also it's more like you're just flying around really just like observing the world, observing that world in your head. So it's like it's an exciting part, I have to admit. And also, if you try to do first person in that world, you tend to try to be more connected with that, and then you try to make changes in that world that better suits that first person. So it's more like you're ruining the ecosystem of that imagination. What I'm saying is, you write differently when you write in third person than first person, obviously, but also like the way you write it and the way you structure the story. When you write, like when I wrote my story, I wrote third person because I liked having it, um, having the other I like seeing all the other characters' point of views, their angles, their shots, and also um, being able to go in depth with their character development. As when it comes to first person, you're more just like, oh, you're getting that person's perspective. So it's a very limited, in my opinion, storyline. And also, you tend to have to structure the ecosystem and gear it towards uh, that character. And it just makes, to me, it just doesn't make a good quality because then it's just like cheap. And there are third person stories that do that. But even when someone's writing in third person, it still feels like a first person because it's still writing from that person's perspective, not from multiple perspectives. That's why I'm a fan of stories that write in multiple perspective. Um, so let's get to it. The first step is to get your tools. There is a lot of tools when it comes to this. I use several tools. The first tool is obviously music to help visualize the world or a scene. I tend to use music to for each scene, like whatever scene's going on. If there's a fight scene or a relaxed scene or a simple talking scene, or there needs to be something more serious, because it sets my brain in that mood. So that means okay, now my brain is in that mood. So now I'm writing, my brain is producing thoughts and thoughts towards that mood, and that's what I find useful. Next, you'll need a laptop, tablet, or phone, whichever you prefer. Ideally, one that uses Microsoft Office that can connect to your OneDrive. Uh, these are going to be your most important tool. A quiet place to write, not a coffee shop. I don't recommend coffee shops. That's just a waste of time and money. Coffee shops are crowded, they're not quiet. You really can't get focused. And it's like, oh, but it's a coffee shop, free Wi Fi. It's like, well, you really don't even need the Wi Fi. You just use the Wi Fi to upload it. It's like, you really don't need it. You're just looking for an excuse. And plus, there's other options you can do. Grammarly. Grammarly helps you help with your grammar. Or if you, or sometimes you may want to get what I got. I had a friend of mine, she's my editor, so I have an editor. Always have a friend you can trust to be your editor because that's more important. So they can tell you. A Bluetooth device is very important, um, and I'll go into depth on why in a bit. So you want to pick your location as well. Like I usually pick where I'm absolutely alone so I can write, because part of my process in writing is I tend to use like if I don't know, I know most of you guys always have it where like you have something in your head and you just can't, for the love of God, write it down. Um, like, I know sometimes, like, I just have that thought, like, I have this image, but I don't know how to word it right. So, what I tend to do is I tend to get on my phone and I tend to just like, because phones tend to have this feature where you could just talk to it and it'll write it down on Microsoft Office. So Microsoft Word, you can just talk to it, and you can even do that with your laptop, which is great. And when it comes to location, sometimes I use a car. Like I would drive and have my Bluetooth device, so I can talk. And when I'm talking, it's going to directly to Microsoft Word, and then that document is getting uploaded to the cloud. So when I reach my destination and I'm on my laptop, I'm just typing on my laptop. It's like I don't need to use it anymore. And of course, I use Grammarly to double check the grammar and spelling and whatnot. And that's what I recommend. That's important. You want to do that. Uh, you want to get into a habit of it. It's very important, in my opinion. You want to, if you're just writing, you can get a laptop with just good battery, probably for like $200. I'd recommend, unless you want to do other stuff, like I do a lot of programming, gaming. I do everything on my computer, so I choose gaming computer, a gaming laptop, uh, and phone. I just choose regular Windows phone. I know I'm one of those rare few with a Windows phone, but it works. I paid only like $80 for it, so it does the job. Plus, with the Windows phone, when it comes to Microsoft Word, there's no really that much lag when it comes to uploading it. It really does it really quickly. It uses less data too, so that's what's great about it. Even though it's not much because they're both kilobytes, like no matter what your phone you're using. But yeah, for Bluetooth, I tend to use that earpiece headset. It was like $15, but you can use any other Bluetooth device as long as it's able to understand your voice, and then it writes on it, and then it just writes on Office. So yeah, you want to get OneDrive account. You want to get a Microsoft Office account. If you cannot get Microsoft Office because it's expensive or anything like that, or you don't want to do the monthly payment, you could always just make an Outlook account. It also makes a OneDrive account, and you can write it online. That's when you'll need Wi-Fi. You can write your stuff online, which is great. Uh, like on your browsers, you can do that. So to reiterate, that's those steps. Get your tools, music, so you can set the mood. Laptop and tablet or phone, whichever. Quiet place, Grammarly, Microsoft Office, and a OneDrive account. Pick a location, and then third is, and then next is find your passion or connect to something. This is the longest process before writing because this is where you find what do you want to write about. I recommend going on an adventure. Some people do backpacking, but I don't like it. It's too expensive, and it's like you're trying to write a book, you're not trying to go in depth. There's many ways to go through adventure. It's kind of like just look at your everyday and look at it at a different angle. Look at your daily life at a different angles. Kind of imagine like, oh, you're the character being written on, like what I said in my earlier podcast where everybody has a story. So imagine that you're in that angle, so you get to see from different angles. So kind of like have your inspiration. Learn about your culture. If you learn about your culture more in depth, that's always another thing. Like further in depth than just like looking on Wikipedia. Like go in depth. Like I have a friend who it's like again, as I have a friend who didn't know about that didn't know about her culture, right? And it's my editor too. So my editor writes her own story. Uh, she didn't know about her culture and what she did. What she just like went and studied, went to fairs that had to do about her culture, like that talked about it. So the way she connects with her story is about preserving said culture. So it's about learning it a lot and also how the character tries to preserve it. And that, see, there you go, already like made a story regarding something important. And you could do the same or you could do differently. Some people have different inspiration, different things that they connect to and want to revolve the story around it. Um, Next is the storyboard. Uh, the storyboard is where you usually map it from beginning to end with a flow chart. What I tend to do is I tend to sleep. This is my best part when it comes to storyboards is I tend to go to sleep, and what I do is I just like go to sleep and I just start imagining the world that I'm in and kind of like seeing how everything progressed like I'm watching a movie. So it's basically like just I'm just like picturing it in my head. It's like kind of like how it would go in movies, like I said. Um, oh, what else? Because it kind of like creates a catalog. It's like kind of helps you connect to that world. Because when you're asleep, your brain is like giving you dreams. Sometimes I use those dreams and I kind of think about it, and then sometimes like I would listen to something while I'm sleeping, so it helps me visualize, or I kind of like picture something. But you want to take it scene by scene. You can't take it like all from beginning to end. You have to take it scene by scene. I usually create checkpoints so I know which from what scenes to I have to get to, like point A to point B. So I kind of break up into parts. I kind of have checkpoints, and I only think about that checkpoints when I'm sleeping. And then when I wake up, I'm like, huh, okay, well, was it good or was it bad? And usually by the time I wake up, I used to decide whether it was good or bad, and I want to write about it or not. Then I just drive to school and use my Bluetooth, talk while I'm driving to school, and then whatever I say gets uploaded to the cloud. Then when I get to school or get to where I need to go, I just start writing and typing. Yeah, and I just repeat that process. Uh, in the next podcast, I'm going to go in depth on more geared towards the the more in depth parts on my process. So this was just like getting your tools. So now that you have your tools and you know how to get started and you know what you have kind of ideas you want to write about, listen to the next podcast and we can kind of get things flowing and hopefully you can finish your own novel, which would be amazing and I would enjoy reading anyone's novel.